I'm going to start this video off with that video I did yesterday, the job that I was finishing up on that the Dometic air conditioner, Dometic, Coleman, Duotherm. There's just 3 or 4 different brands they use on those RVs. This particular one, the running capacitor is going bad. I've listened to my video back and I said people probably don't understand what what I'm talking about. I kind of rushed through those. I should take a little bit more time to kind of explain. Now I've got a meter. I can actually disconnect that capacitor. Make sure it's de-energized. Make sure the power is off. What happened? The compressor wasn't starting because the capacitor was bad. It tripped the breaker, so I knew the power was off. Went up there. So well, it's something. The capacitor is the first thing to check because the brand capacitor is a very common source of problems. The old ones, the ones that had PCBs, polyvinyl. Oh, my brain is locked. I know the chemical, but they banned them as cancer causing. They banned it a lot. It's a very good insulator, but they banned it for causing cancer. But anyway, the newer ones, they don't hold up as well just because they got different. It is same with them. They're all made over in China, and they're just stuff made in China is just junk. You've started to tell that to Chinese, but stuff made in China is just flat out junk. But anyway, the run capacitor was bad, so I checked it. I had to go over and get one because I didn't. Well, it was a combination. The one for the compressor is 55 microfarad. The one for the fan motor is 15 microfarad. It was a 55 microfarad and 15 microfarad capacitor. Just a weird combination of 2 different capacitors. Anyway, I put 2 separate capacitors in there. I originally had a hard start capacitor for it that had gone bad. I went ahead and had to mount that in there. Anyway, I was trying to explain that. And if somebody wants me to go through the troubleshooting process, you go to find those problems, I can. The best way to do it would be to do that with somebody else that wants to hold the camera while I'm going through go through some mock-up air conditioners to show the particular fault process for finding. If you want to see if it's got a blown fuse or the contact is bad, the run capacitor is bad. Fairly simple stuff. It's easy to diagnose if you know how to use, a voltmeter, capacitor meter. If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't have the tools, you're probably better off to leave it alone. But if somebody wants to help me make those DIY videos, they can let me know. Yeah, and I'd be glad to do that. I've made a few. I'm kind of cautious on the DIY videos because a lot of what I do, I've been doing this since I was a kid. I know how not to kill myself. I know how not to touch. Even then, I have by accident once or twice. It was a guy that got killed up in an attic. That's been about 3 or 4 years ago. Another AC guy that had. That was a story. I don't know if that's a fact or not. It was in the middle of summertime, and my first thought was the heat had got to him. But I talked to somebody and said no. He had touched an energized terminal, got electrocuted, he died up in the attic, which is kind of sad. One of those things that you got to be very careful when you're working with energized circuits. But anyway, if you are working with energized, stuff with the power still on it, you got to be respectful of that and know where not to stick your fingers. You don't stick your fingers on in terminals that are energized. I have, but to see if something's getting hot, but I make sure that I'm clear from ground. I make sure that I don't make a circuit to ground. I think you need to understand how electricity and how your body reacts to stuff like that. I'll go through that some other time. Sometimes I've checked to see if something was making good contact. If it's making good contact, it won't generate heat. But if there's something resistive in there, it will generate heat. I need to explain that because you just went and describe it here. You probably don't understand what I'm saying. Next thing I want to cover is a somewhat interesting dream I had last night. I'm going to cover it briefly. I'm not going to cover all the events, but it was a building my father bought this building back in, I'd say, probably the late 40s or early 50s. He had not really finished it, but he had it usable. But anyway, he sold his building back in the early 80s. He retired at 83, and